For the last 15 years, it's been like clockwork. Everybody trots out a new piece of technology, and as soon as the technology comes out, somebody comes out, some self-proclaimed guru comes out and says, SEO is dead. And they're screaming it again. This time it's AI. They want you to panic. They want you to think that if you aren't optimizing for AI search right now, your business is going to go to zero. Listen to me. The data does not support this narrative. Is AI changing the search game? Absolutely. But the idea that you can corner the market in AI search right now is completely misguided and needs to be buried. Welcome to the graveyard. We're going to take a walk through the cemetery of outdated and overhyped marketing tactics. I'm going to show you exactly what is dying this year so you can stop setting your marketing budget on fire. Welcome back to The Buck Stops Here. I'm your host, David Maples. I'm an intellectual property attorney, business consultant, and AI technologist, and I manage software systems and teams of people who build software. And we've been working heavily in the artificial intelligence space and machine learning space since 2018. In this episode, we're going to address the AI search mirage, why chasing new acronyms like AIO, GEO is really a trap right now, and why foundational SEO is actually more important than ever. Number two, we're going to look at the death of the micro-influencer, why paying small creators is turning into a massive waste of money now the internet is drowning in a tidal wave of AI slop. And number three, the celebrity brand illusion, why trying to build a cult of personality around yourself like a Ryan Reynolds will actually make your small business completely unsellable and potentially burn you out. That being said, let's get to work. If you're ready to stop chasing ghosts and start maximizing your budget on the fundamentals that actually work, you're in the right place. And if you're a longtime listener, welcome back. We're officially dropping new episodes every week, so let's get to work. So to kick this off, I'm going to address the first thing right now, the kind of myth you need to go ahead and bury. So there's a lot of panic over AI search and AI overviews. And for the uninitiated out there, the people who are just tuning into the podcast, you've run into these things whether you realize it or not. You've heard from friends, families, gurus in the marketplace right now, people you follow on LinkedIn who are generating all their stuff with AI, that everybody is searching in ChatGPT or in Anthropic or in Gemini or whatever it is. And in fact, in Google, there's a thing called AI overviews, which show up on about 16% as the time of recording this podcast of all searches. So what you've heard is that's the future. Everything is going to go to AI search. And the reality of it is that's overblown, wildly overblown right now. But undoubtedly, AI search is changing the marketplace. It's changing how things works. So the industry right now is in panic mode. It's in free fall. It's like, what's going to happen with this? Do I even need a website anymore? Should I be building stuff on rented land now? And by the way, if you asked me a decade ago, one of the challenges of building stuff on what's called rented land, and just to let you know what that is, so you would build a big platform on Meta or Facebook at the time, or on X, or on Blue Sky, or on LinkedIn, or any of these other social platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Threads. You would build something on there, and when you build something on there, the fundamental challenge with that is you don't own the platform. You just don't own it. So if they decide to turn it off tomorrow, you're done. Years ago, Facebook introduced something called Facebook Pages, and you could build out a little micro website on Facebook. We used to sell these to people in one of the digital marketing companies I run. We used to offer that as a service to people, and it lasted for about a year. And then all these people had paid us for these little micro websites that were within Facebook, got shut down overnight. Facebook said, we're not supporting that anymore. So all these people paid all this money for something that didn't last. And so it's that was a big cautionary tale wake up on, be careful building on rented land, because you can't control what they're going to do with it. You can't control what how they're going to build it out. I think now the narrative has changed a little bit. You're going to have to be on rented land. And in some ways, this has become much more expensive for small and medium businesses because you have to be in a lot more places than you used to have to be. So, but everywhere right now, gurus are telling business owners to pivot their entire strategy to these AI overviews. And they're calling it like AIO, GEO, search engine everywhere. I mean, I've seen a lot of different things. And they're arguing that the bots are answering everything right now, so you have to format your site strictly for a bot. The reality of it is that just isn't happening. What's really happening on the data is that AI search is moving at light speed. It's incredibly unstable. On Google's AI overviews, 16% of those are actually including an AI overview on a search. So it's not the vast majority of searches. Will it become inserted in more? Absolutely. But the other thing to realize is that on ChatGPT, another example, everybody's going to ChatGPT to search. Half of people are not going there to search. And right now, when you look at the total search volume, the amount of people actually using ChatGPT to search is vastly below. It's like at the level of Bing or these other services right now. It's not even the number of people who search on Reddit. And we're actually seeing kind of a high watermark on that. Will people go there and that replace search? The answer is no. Google got handed a gift last year from the Department of Justice in the United States. They were under this big antitrust lawsuit. And at the end of it, the reason they didn't hit them with the hammer that Google probably deserved to be hit with was they said, well, you know what? You're in a fast-moving industry and AI search is going to change everything, which, by the way, Google played into that narrative very heavily. And it gave them a very advantageous ruling. They said, hey, you know what? You're entering a tough marketplace, but they are currently owning that segment. So here's the thing with AI search. Do you want to show up in AI search? Well, the search tools, it turns out if you do 1,500 different searches on Google, you will get different results for AI research results every single time, without exception. People won't replicate themselves in the search results. And right now, you could kind of do it as like a share of voice, like you do when we do radio or TV. Like how often do you show up percentage-wise versus everybody else? That's the way you have to do it. And that's kind of a game for the mid to very large companies. That's a very expensive thing to do. But tracking your searches in AI search result is a mirage right now. Betting your company's payroll on a black box algorithm that is changing its mind not only constantly, but it's changing the direction of where we're moving in is a massive strategic error. You could spend a lot of money on it and chase that. What we know still works is search engine optimization because of how these machines are trained and how they work. You still need to do basic, good, fundamental SEO because that's what drives that not only the vast majority of trackable revenue, but it's actually how the AI search engines find you. And I hate even using the term AI search engines, but that's what people are calling them now. So here's what it comes down to. So if you want to show up in the AI search results, there are some things you can do that are just good fundamental SEO type things. You need to write good content. They're going to scrape that content and then ingest it into the next version of their AI model when training. And you need to have good schema markup on there. You need to have a good frequently asked questions page on your website. And at the same time, public relations is probably more important from that standpoint. But the point I'm trying to make right now is though AI search is something that is changing things. We're seeing a lot of what's called zero-click search results, which means people do the search and they don't click anywhere. They don't go anywhere. But the reality of it is if you want to show up in AI search, you need to have fundamental SEO that is beneath that. So the thing we really need to lay to rest right now is that AI search this year is changing everything. It is changing things, but it's not changing the fundamental activities your company needs to be doing. You still need to work on showing up in organic search results because that is how the models are trained and how they work. And it's the vast majority of verifiable and trackable revenue for business owners. That's the first thing I would like to lay to rest right now. The next one I'd like to go into is the death of what I'm calling the micro-influencer. Now, the funny thing is all of these things are kind of related to AI. It absolutely is changing a lot of things that are happening right now. But ultimately, what I'm trying to get you to understand is we're laying these things to rest because we're trying to protect the budget in your business. Because as we say on the buck stops here, it's up to you to be responsible for the results that your company gets into. So number one, if we're protecting your budget, stop chasing and stop spending a lot of money on these guru influencers right now because they're just going to take your money and they can't really deliver any verifiable results. Even there, if you, let's say you get share of voice, it's way below the share of voice you would need. I mean, like it's below Reddit, it's below Bing. Maybe you should be putting, if a guru really knew what they were talking about, they'd be like, you know what, right now, we need to dominate Reddit. Now, that's still below Google search, but at the same time, at least would have real value and verifiable things for you in your company. So, the second thing I want to talk about, because I think it's important that people understand everything is getting buried under this avalanche or tsunami of AI slop content. In upcoming episodes, we'll be covering how your own authentic voice in a world of AI slop can be your superpower. If you'd like to know about those new episodes when they drop, subscribe to the podcast, and we will make sure that you get notified of those new strategies when those episodes drop. The one I want to talk about now is the micro influencer. So what everybody here knows what an influencer is. An influencer is somebody who ostensibly makes their living shilling, branding, having a lifestyle brand or whatever it is on one of the many social media platforms. One of the big strategies for the past 5 years was it was smarter to pay, like 100 of these hyper local creators a small fee instead of paying a gigantic amount of money to a massive celebrity. It was sold to many, many people as the authentic word of mouth growth hack, for lack of a better term. The idea behind it is that okay, cool, I can get this big celebrity to drop my stuff, but they're going to charge me $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a post. But instead I could get a whole bunch of these micro influencers and pay them $50 a pop or $500 a pop and get them to talk about my stuff a whole lot. And they would literally bring me in people from the local area. It was a great strategy. It worked for a while until it didn't. So what has changed is that social feeds are now flooded with AI slop, this endless synthetic, hyper polished garbage, for lack of a better word. Because of this flood of content, the algorithms are getting choked, and authentic, small scale creators are just getting buried. If you're paying for a micro influencer right now, you are kind of buying a billboard in a ghost town. And if you go look at your numbers, they'll support this. And I kind of hate this because I kind of dug micro influencers. I kind of thought it was a cool thing. They really could talk about your brand and really bring it home to those people. There are exceptions to this rule, by the way. If a micro influencer has cultivated their own email marketing list, most of them have not. If they've cultivated a big following and they still do social events, most of them do not, then they can still be very valuable for that. But other than that, if you look at your numbers, take a hard look at them, you will unfortunately see that the micro influencers have been crowded out by this other content. And it's not their fault. It's that we're playing to the algorithm. We've seen some algorithms try to change this a little bit. Some of the platforms have said no AI content. The question is, how will they know that it's AI content? Right now, there's news that LinkedIn is scaling up or spreading the reach of content they believe to be authentically created. And you can't always smell the AI slop, but you usually know it when you see it. The challenge with it is a lot of it's based on really good norms for writing. And that's a challenge with that because it really is unfortunate. But supposedly LinkedIn right now is combating this by expanding the reach of things that are misspelled. Please look that you will probably see AI generated slop trying to fake those kind of issues very shortly. But the reality of it is that it's hard to manage this on running space and algorithms you don't control. I think one of the things that's really important is to lean back into the things that we knew worked for a long time. Pivot to actual public relations, write and distribute press releases to legitimate news organizations and industry publications. You need to build permanent searchable brand authority that directly feeds back into your core SEO. And we'll talk a little bit about this on a future episode, but we will talk about how you need to lean into posting your own content on social media. And the truth about these things is that you're going to have to pay for a lot of this stuff. You're going to have to pay to run ads and do those kind of things. And you're still competing with a lot of AI slop that's been generated. You could try to generate your own content using AI, but again, you're competing with a lot of people who are outproducing you at scale. So it's actually it's a real challenge right now, and it's something that I think is affecting everyone out in the marketplace at this moment in time. So I think right now, unfortunately, the micro influencer is something that you probably need to look at kind of burying on the ash heap of history. The third one is kind of the cult of personality trap. Now, this is people look at these brands that have come out of nowhere. Ryan Reynolds is a pretty good example of that. Him and Hugh Jackman's feuds on social media, I think, are funny and they're great. They're great marketing shticks. But the current marketing advice tells a lot of mid-market people that they need to build a massive cult of personality, do viral stunts, make your face inseparable for the brand. I do think you need to be the face of your brand or limit it to some of the people there. But I think it's dangerous for a normal business. Now, first of all, one of the challenges you run into is that unless you are Ryan Reynolds looking at this episode, and by the way, if you are, I love you. I think you do great work. Love to hear from you. But if you're not, stop conflating yourself with these celebrities who already have built-in reach. If you want to be honest about it, whenever I talked about public relations a minute ago, they have paparazzi who follow them around. That is built in public relations. They are doing a lot of those other things these people don't, that's already being done by them. But if you build a cult of personality, it makes your business completely unsellable because your personality probably won't go with it. Now, you could, I guess, license your brand to AI or license your likeness to AI. So maybe that's not as true as it might have been like 2 years ago. At the same time, we still don't know what's going to happen without, and we don't know for sure how that's going to develop. But one of the challenges with it is it does create a massive bottleneck in your brand. It can lead to an incredible amount of burnout, and it literally bottlenecks it around the founder. And so one of the reasons that's important is there's a guy that I watch, and he decided he was going to post on social media every single day. And he built a pretty good following on Instagram and on TikTok. He had 100 or 200,000 followers and had a pretty good brand, did it every single day and kind of did it as like a challenge to himself. And about day 430, he was like, I just don't feel like doing this anymore. He just didn't. He pointed out a lot of how it wasn't really generating the kind of returns he thought it would, not for the time invested, because he was spending an hour to 2 hours every single day posting about content and trying to come up with new content every single day. And part of it was when it got harder for him last year because he was probably, I guess, still a micro influencer or a larger micro influencer at that level. But he was also starting to be drowned out by AI. And I got news for you in the algorithm. I used to read this stuff this guy posted every single day. I reached out to him a couple times in DMs. I've not seen him in the past 6 months. He is still posting, but much less frequently. So one of the things about it is the algorithms also reward consistency. If you post every single day and you stop, your brand reach will plummet. So if you're going to do it, post on a level that can be consistent for you. But basically, one of the things you actually probably need to do is this is an algorithmic proof moat. We know that a lot of businesses, and by the way, I work in digital marketing, I work in artificial intelligence. One of the biggest things you can do right now is get out from behind your keyboard to show up in your actual community, network, sponsor local events, shake hands, combine your localized trust with things you can control, like operational excellence in your business. Deliver on your promises, just do what you say you're going to do, and let your reputation do the heavy lifting for you. Those are the three things I would really look at right now if I were going to leave things on the ash heap of history into this first quarter in 2026. That's what I would look to do. Now, by the way, I'm welcome to be wrong on this. I mean, you can list something in the comments. You may completely disagree. If you're selling artificial intelligence search or AI search, I expect you to flame war me. That's totally fine. But it doesn't change the fact that you're grifting. And if you really analyze what you're doing, you know you're grifting. So what it really comes down to is if you want to maximize your budget, stop looking for lack of a better term, stop looking for another hack. Run your business, build a good website, execute the foundational search engine optimization, do real public relations, and show up in your community. That's what you really want to do. If you'd like to have some more suggestions on this, then head on over to the Buck Stops Here podcast for our show notes, resources, and to join our list. So in the next episode, we're going to talk about leaning into your cringe and why just showing up on a consistent basis is your ultimate unfair advantage. It's been my pleasure to be your host, David Maples, and that's been your $20,000 of business advice in about 30 minutes. So I look forward to seeing you next time, and until then, be well, do good work, and avoid getting ripped off.